Welcome to Agape Sticks, a simple way for anyone to illustrate the Christian faith. At the core of Agape Sticks is love. We'll illustrate that with an arrow. The arrow helps us understand love because the arrow is always pointing somewhere. We often think of love like it's an emotion or an attraction. In Greek, the original language of the New Testament, they had multiple words for love. Eros was romantic love, philia was the love between friends, but the most used word was agape. Agape is sacrificial love, an unconditional commitment to someone. So, wherever this love arrow points, that's where the commitment is. Whoever has this arrow pointed to them is benefiting from the relationship. So, let's get started. Let's draw a stick figure. We'll call him Mike. And here we have an arrow pointing away from him. This is the way God intends for us to live, in love and commitment to others. There's another way this arrow can go. Let's draw Joe. He has love, but the arrow points back to himself. He has self-love. This is not God's intention for us. We can see this better if we add a few other people in here. Mike is truly loving the other person. There is commitment and the other person benefits. Mike may not benefit at all from this commitment, but he loves anyway. Joe here is being selfish and leaves the other person isolated because of it. There's another place we can draw people. Now, this person might think that Joe is committed to him, but it's not true. Joe is really doing this for his own benefit. In the end, Joe is only committed to himself. So there are two options for our arrows here. Either your love sticks to others or your love sticks to yourself. It's as simple as that, which gets us to the basic question of agape sticks. Where does your agape stick? Let's trace this back to the beginning, literally back to creation. We believe God created everything. He didn't have to do that. He did it because he loves us. He is committed to his creation by supplying everything we need. We are the ones who benefit, not God. So, God is love. We are made in the image of God. Well, if God is love, then God's design for us is to live the image of God by loving God and loving others. But God didn't just make one person. How does this work when we have other people in the mix? I'm glad you asked. Here we see mutual love between God and us, and also mutual love between man and woman. This is so cool. God's love is reflected between people, and everyone is loved, even though there is no self-love happening. Well, God made man and woman to multiply, so little Johnny comes along, and guess what happens? Dad and Mom love Johnny, and Johnny learns how to love them back. It's beautiful. There's something else to see about this picture. Man cannot make little Johnny by himself. Nor can Mom make little Johnny by herself. They need each other. God made our world to be thoroughly interconnected and interdependent. Let's illustrate that with another picture. Here we have 4 people, and each of them is loved by God, and they love him back. Remember, we are made in God's image of love, so they also love each other. That means we need a few more arrows. Now, I know there are a lot of arrows in there, but it paints a beautiful picture, doesn't it? All 4 of these people have the love of God and the love of 3 other people. Just think of what a supportive environment that must be. Just think of how they might be able to work together to do great things. Wow. Now think if there were 40 people. Each person has 39 other people's arrows pointing to them. Just think of having 39 people committed to you. Who needs self-love when you have 39 people loving you? This is awesome. God made a thoroughly interconnected world. Not just that, but we all need each other. We are interdependent. God said his good creation was very good when all the parts came together and were fully dependent on each other. From the very beginning, God desired to see love creating community. Well, we know that God's perfect world didn't stay that way. Self-love came into the picture and spread its way through God's interconnected creation. It all started in the Garden of Eden, when the serpent convinced Eve that God was being selfish by restricting Adam and Eve from the knowledge of good and evil. It just wasn't true. But Eve was convinced that if God could have self-love, so could she. Well, she's connected to her husband, and he fell for the same lie. The result is a fractured relationship with God and with each other, and it just kept spreading. Little Cain didn't stand a chance. Well, this fractures all of God's interconnected creation. Let's go back to our 4 people. Selfishness really messes up this picture. God still loves them, but now they only love themselves. Before, they each had the love of God and 3 other people. Now, it's just lonely self-love. Think of how these 4 would work together now. Sad, isn't it? They're only interested in themselves. It's probably obvious, but self-love, self-commitment, self-agape is the essence of sin. It's everything God designed us not to be. There are many facets of selfishness. Here's Joe again. He can love himself and ignore others. He can love himself and take advantage of others. Joe can even be taken advantage of by someone else, or a lot of someone else's. We see this everywhere in our world, and it's a mess, to put it lightly. We need someone to come and save us from all of this self-love. And that's exactly what Jesus came to do. Check out our other Agape Sticks videos to see how this all plays out. So, where does your agape stick?